Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvelcast, Explosion Network's hub for all things Marvel, a place to talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Gladiatrix and Amaminta Ross. Pulls. I'm Ashley Hobley, your host without fear. Joining me today is the astonishing Dylan Blight.
You still expect me to believe you're not making up these names, but sure.
No, I'm definitely pulling them from somewhere. Pulling them from this Marvel database.
Okay, definitely not ChatGPT or anything. You're just like,
No,
tell me a
definitely
superhero name.
Absolutely not. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a different one. Of course, we're continuing our Daredevil retrospective. We're going to touch on his appearances in the MCU so far, and then also talk about Echo, a series that we neglected when it first came out. But I've rewatched because it does have ties to the upcoming Daredevil Born Again. So yeah, please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about the plot themes and ending of Echo plus Spider-Man No Way Home plus Hawkeye. So if you haven't watched those, come back later. Oh, plus She-Hulk, I guess. With that said, let's jump into our discussion. Obviously, the first appearance of Matt Murdock post-Netflix series is in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing the lawyer who's helping...
he's playing Matt Murdock.
He's playing Matt Murdock, but he's also the lawyer who's helping Peter Parker after his identity is revealed post that next movie. I remember when I went to see that movie, and I was at a press screening, so massive pop for Charlie Cox, you know, and what it's potentially signaled, and what it did end up signaling.
Yeah, I remember we'd heard the rumors, I think, prior to going into that he was in it, seeing him pop up, and I really appreciate, I think it's not a slow build-up reveal, it's just like it cuts to the scene and he's like sort of talking, and the camera just sort of is like, you know, he's there, so it doesn't feel like a cheap cameo, like shock one. It's just like it fits and it makes sense and whatever else. And yeah, I remember feeling quite happy because obviously you've only just caught up on the shows, but having obviously watched them since they started, I was like, great, awesome, they're back. You know, like
That's pretty cool. The next time we see anybody from the Daredevil series, we see the Kingpin within Hawkeye. Turns out he was the big bad of that show all along. I guess, technically. Is the force to come behind them. And when we delve into that, he helped raise Maya Lopez, Echo, who we're about to talk about in the show, I guess in secret or before the events of the Daredevil TV series. I feel like this is where it kind of gets a little bit confusing. It's like where in the timeline that all kind of fits together. He wears a lot of white in these flashbacks, but you know, he was wearing black all the time until Vanessa showed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can live with it.
He was hiding in the shadows, didn't want to be seen at all, you know, that kind of stuff. But, you know, I really enjoyed all that. Like, he's really good. But then we end Hawkeye with Maya wanting to leave. She meets up with Wilson Fisk after he gets beat up by a little girl in the form of Kate Bishop. And the final shot is her firing a gun while the camera like cranes off into the distance, so we never see what actually happened. So we'll get to what actually happened afterwards. But before that, of course, we've got Daredevil's appearance in She-Hulk, which was a massive draw for that TV series. And I feel like this is probably the closest iteration. Well, we get to see a full Daredevil, but, you know, maybe this is closer to the Daredevil we're going to see in the Born Again TV series. Or at least the lawyering aspect, I guess, of... He seems to be a very accomplished lawyer who seems to have both sides of his life together. You know what I mean?
Shitty costume.
I like the costume. I like the yellow.
I don't like it. I really dislike the costume. There's something that... I think I just prefer I'm just much bigger fan of just all red.
Just plain red.
Give me that devil. Give me the Daredevil, you know?
It's a nice spin on it.
I think, here's the thing. I think with the She-Hulk, I'll stand by She-Hulk. Decent TV show. Trashed for undeservingly. No one's trying, like I'm not here trying to say it's the best MCU thing ever, but I actually, I thought that show was a lot of fun. His appearance and like sort of trying to bait viewers back in for that, and like the just bad like little Easter eggs of him putting him in.
He's coming.
Yeah, he's coming. I know that Tatiana had said that she's happy to be back in it. I'd be all for it. I thought they had fun little chemistry. So
they had great chemistry. They teased another hallway fight, and then it's just She-Hulk coming in from the roof, squashing them all. Seeing him flipping around and all that, very exciting. And kind of a refresher on his abilities, I guess, for people who haven't been following. So, yeah. With that all caught up, let's talk about the latest tie-in, I guess, to the Daredevil / Kingpin world. Echo.
I see everything that you are. I always have. Don't be afraid. So much pain in you. So much rage that you can't contain it. The same. So, who's the monster?
Head writers were Marion, Dayre, and Amy Rardin, and while City Freeland was leading directing team. Of course, it's based on Marvel Comics, starring Alaqua Cox, Chaske Spencer, Tantoo, Cardinal, Charlie Cox, Devery Jacobs, Zahn, McClarnon, Cody Lighting, Greene, and Vincent D'Onofrio. Maya Lopez's ruthless behavior in New York City catches up to her in her hometown. She must face her past, reconnect with her Native American roots, and embrace the meaning of family and community. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Echo?
I thought it was decent. I enjoyed this more than definitely we had been led to believe. I remember it just dropped at a weird time. I think it was because it was on holidays.
It was like December or like early January.
Yeah,
and but I can get it came out the 9th of January.
Yeah, we would have been
on break. Yeah,
on break. Yeah, so we just
and it dropped all at once. Yeah, two things.
Yeah, and then by the time we come back, we just missed it. I enjoyed it. I found Alaqua Cox.
Yep.
I thought she was really, really good. I would happily watch more of her. I think she brings a very strong presence to the screen. And I mean, also, I don't think you can like sort of undersell, having a show about a deaf character with a fucking prosthetic leg, played by someone with the same ailments.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's obviously very cool. So, and like a huge Native American cast, and like there's a lot of very cool things about it. I think the background story about how she connects to her ancestors, and I think there's a lot of really cool elements. However, I don't think a lot of them pulled off really well. Like I don't feel like they pull off. Like I like the idea of her connecting, and like that's Echo, and they tell these things and powers. I don't feel like the way they choose to use that or portray it is done particularly well, as much as I think it's a cool idea. I enjoyed seeing all of her different family members in town interact with one another, but I don't feel like any of them really get enough time to shine. I don't, like, you know, like you got this big build up with her sister and stuff. You never really get great moments between her and her sister. Cousin, is it? Like a cousin?
Yeah.
You know, like there's just all these like characters who you never really see all these great moments with. Zahn McClarnon, who's like probably one of the most prominent, I guess, Native American actors. He's like in a lot of shit, and he's fantastic in everything he's in. And seeing him in like the first episode just made me miss how he's not in the rest of the series. You know, Vincent D'Onofrio, when we see Fisk, he's really good, but at the same time, it felt like he just sort of the ending to the series is just like, don't fuck off. You know, like it's a bit of a mixed bag, but I still enjoyed it, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable enough. I just don't know that it had a clear vision of what it wanted to be.
Rushed to production, maybe.
It definitely feels like it was rushed into being made. There's probably a reason we haven't got any of these spotlight series since. Just like there's not really a clear goal or idea of what the show wants to be, other than she's apparently being chased by Fisk's organization, and her idea of a good idea is to come to her hometown. From 20 years ago,
she thinks she's killed him and is gonna take over his organization. It's how
maybe. There's just like some weird dynamics, and like everybody knows who she is, but they haven't seen her in 20 years. Like, I don't think she's one for like posting like selfies on Facebook and that kind of stuff, so people could recognize her and that kind of thing. So that's all very odd. I think the best sequence in the entire series is probably the train sequence, which is like jumping from train cart to like turns out she's planting a bomb inside of the armory. So when it gets open in New York, it like blows it all to hell. That explosion was pretty cool to watch. But then, you know, her cousin Biscuit like trying to help her.
He was pretty
funny. I loved her grandpa in the pawn shop. You know,
another prominent
Indigenous actor.
Yeah.
Or Native American actor. He was really great, you know. But yeah, I just don't feel like it had a clear idea of what it wanted to be, other than, you know, explaining what happened in Kingpin, which we'll get to now, I guess. She shot him in the face, but apparently not. Like, maybe grazed his face, it seemed like. Or they've done like a bunch of reconstructive.
Kingpin survived.
Yeah, it seems like. Apparently she is not a good shot. Fucking wild. Like, it seemed like he got a bit of damage on his eye, and that's about it.
What annoys me about this, I'm like, if you want to make out like he's dead, that's fine. Just don't clearly show me someone shoot someone in the fucking eye and then make out like
we fixed it.
Yeah, like that's.
I mean, if you want to do like we got an eye transplant, just make the eyes different colors, like something. Like
there's no like by the end of this series, it's like okay, he's just Vincent D'Onofrio.
He's back. I mean, it seems like she kills him at the end. Is that what the whole idea is?
Yeah. Like he has all these scars, and one of the powers was healing, and she does that.
Yeah. So you know, he's all good and all better, and she's trying to pull out all the darkness out of him, I guess, and that kind of stuff. So I do like their dynamic throughout it. Like I like their dinner, their Sunday dinner scene. You know, despite it being on a Thursday.
That was funny though. It was like, I thought we'd have a Sunday dinner, and then she's just like, it's Thursday.
Also, fucking wild, like the contact lens thing that he puts on her.
Pretty cool technology idea. Get on that, Elon Musk. You fucking
use the fucking AI for something useful. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think, you know, delving into that relationship, and like I think the other interesting is like delving into some of the Native American like lore and that kind of stuff in the history, like the whole lacrosse sequence in that. I think it's like the second episode.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this is fucking wild. It's like, or the Light Horseman, like old school black and white adventure serial. Taking a couple of big swings on different things. That was all really cool and interesting, and like, I don't know. I feel like 5 episodes was maybe not enough, but also they didn't have enough of 5 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
It's a thing with what they have. It feels stretched, but
Yeah.
also it feels like they could have potentially stretched that more if they'd worked on a better story, like or doing things with these characters. You know, we're talking about how a lot of these characters have like one cool scene, but I don't really feel like they ever have great like actual character moments or.
No, we don't get to know anybody.
No, they're all just sort of funny little 5-minute joke scenes.
Jokes or
usually
providing information or that kind of stuff. It's like the Uncle Henry's like, after they get kidnapped or whatever, it's like, I'm on your side. I'll help you however I can.
Yeah.
And then he never gets asked to get helped again.
After hiding from her cousin or whatever for half the 3 episodes, and then her, like when she's chucked into that room with her at the bowling alley, like after all of that and everything that happens, do they ever actually talk? I don't remember them actually ever talking. They're just, it's so.
I guess at the dinner at the end, they'll talk eventually.
I guess.
They won't actually. They don't talk on screen.
No, that's what I mean.
That's what you mean.
Yeah. And that was a big part from episode 1. Like she goes and looks at her, sees her at the fire station, and then you're like, oh, she's going to hide from her. Like there's going to be a big moment when they finally connect, but no.
Yeah. I mean, there's that one moment of her shouting at her, like, I could have been there for you or whatever, like all that kind of stuff.
So like surface level.
Yeah, very surface level. Anything else you want to discuss from Meko?
The fight scene between, if you want to bring it back home, I think the fight between Maya and the Daredevil was very good.
It was very good, like the opening. It's like, again, you get into the timeline element of it all, and like, when is this taking place? And like, what time? Well, I guess he's got the suit, so would it have to be around season 2 at least?
Yeah,
like,
it's
or it's post the show. I don't know. That kind of stuff.
I don't care.
I mean, cool. My other interesting question is like, one, how it's never explained now how Wilson Fisk is out of prison after the events of season 3.
I don't know.
I wonder if the blip is going to play a role in that.
I think just write it off with that. That's fine.
You know, the blip happened and like all the years were cut off his sentence, or like he served them or whatever. And I mean,
I do find that. I guess the only other thing is like on Fisk. Obviously, the end of this show plays into Daredevil.
I mean, it totally sets up
where it sets up him going for mayor.
For being mayor. So
yeah.
I don't know if it had been announced that that's what they were going to do.
I remember seeing it in the trailer where he's like talking, like running for mayor or whatever. I was like, that came out of the fucking blue, didn't it? And then when you watch this, I'm like, oh no, they set up this. I just haven't watched it.
One of the most recent
yeah.
Marvel properties that has a end credits thing that actually ties into something else.
Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah, I mean, you know, that's all like nerdy backstory stuff. Like, you know, how's it tie into everything? Will we see more of how do all these pieces fit together? How are they pulling the Daredevil world and fitting it into the MCU canon that they currently have?
They can keep it mostly pretty separate. It won't really.
I feel like most people are just not going to really care in the end. So
no, because the current MCU is like pretty trash anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, so we're just excited to see.
As long as it's a good
Daredevil
TV show,
back.
I don't really care. Yeah,
you know. Yeah, we don't have long to wait. Just one more week. Let us know what you guys thought of Echo and of how they've been using the Daredevil characters in the MCU so far by going to find us on Blue Sky at explosionera.com or find us on other social media at ExplosionPod. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and if you can leave 5 stars, I'll just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, Thor's worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionnetwork.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you join us next time when we'll be discussing the premiere episode of Daredevil Born Again. So watch that and join us for another all-new Marvelcast.